She was born during the year when the Wright brothers were making their flights and the yo-yo was invented. 1928 was the year that Loretta May O'Hara was born. At 92, she was caring for people. Anybody she met, she just loved. She holds a very special place in the heart of Marcy and myself. Officially, she was Loretta May White after she was married. To us and to many people, most people who knew her, she was simply Mama Lori. As I said, Lori White was born in 1928, September 27th to be exact. And she passed away actually just this last October 15th, 2020, after quite a long battle with cancer. And she was 92. She was the wife of well-known British psychiatrist John White, who wrote numerous books. And John and her met in June of 1955, and they were at this missionary conference that they both came to. That was their heart. And that was like on June 10th, and they were married on June 25th, 1955. And in the same year, headed off to the mission field in Bolivia in 1955. They just wanted to serve the Lord and do whatever they can to bring His good news to the people around them. They had 5 children when they were on the mission field. They had, it was Scott first in Bolivia, then Kevin in Argentina, and Liana in Argentina, and then there was Miles and Leith in Peru. And 5 kids. Then moved the entire family from Peru to Winnipeg, Manitoba. Can you imagine? From Peru to Winnipeg. There he took on a residency to finish his psychiatry, and he also had a teaching position at the University of Manitoba as associate professor of psychiatry. He wrote, like I said, several books in the Christian faith. Great teacher. I heard him speak several times. And John and Lori became involved in a little small group, and that little small group kind of blew out to like 400 people, and they founded this church called Church on the Way. And then it was about in the 80s, early 80s, they moved to Pasadena, California to focus on his writing. Throughout this time, Lori's just a faithful mother and wife, and doing a little bit of teaching of her own. And she was never one to, want to be the speaker at things, but when she spoke, it was always powerful. They moved again in 1986 to North Delta, BC, where they were part of, they were actually the associate pastors of the Delta Vineyard Church. That became Surrey Vineyard, and that was a thriving church. He died in 2012 after fighting Alzheimer's and a heart disease that he had. We met Lori formally through a national prayer movement that we were involved in leadership, and she was also involved in. We met her more informally, became more of a friend through actually both sets of our advisors, through Alistair and Marie Petrie, and as well as Marty and Sue Shub, who had a close relationship with Mama Lori, and then we developed that same kind of relationship. Lori was with us in Israel one time when we had really hard personal family news that was delivered to us, and she just moved right in. Like, she just swept us up in her loving arms and was really being that spiritual mom to us. She didn't say a whole lot, but what she said was just right, and it made sense, and it was good. And just to feel her arms around us, one who had been through a lifetime of ups and downs. She was there, though, acting like a spiritual mom. She was sharp as a wit right up into the end. She was also very humorous, and she would often actually email us or talk, connect with us in some way, by phone usually. Even though she was all over the world. I mean, she had notable ministry in Korea and in Israel, but she would always manage to somehow tie a connection in and ask how we're doing and praying for us, and just this real sweetheart. She would pass along her love through Alistair Marie or through Cheryl Lindbergh or through Marty and Sue. And when she prayed for you, it was like Jesus himself just kind of reaching through her loving arms and grabbing your heart and just ministering to you so deeply. We had her speak one time at Caribou Christian Life and for a ladies' conference, and she loved it and talked about it often. Actually, she just talked about how much she loved coming up to the Caribou and being with her friends and family. Right? I think she just said family. The Hebrews Hall of Faith in chapter 11 talks about some famous people and talks about some not so famous people. But the not so famous people were so full of faith. Not so famous, but so full of faith. That's part of being in the Hall of Faith. That was Lori, just full of faith, deep faith, to trust the Lord no matter what came along. I believe the Lord really takes note of people like Lori. Bless her heart. Hebrews 12, 1 and 2 says, therefore, because we're surrounded by such a great crowd of witnesses, let us throw off every weight, every sin that so easily entangles us, and run our race, keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author, the finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising its shame, and now sits at the right hand of the throne of God. Lori White. She was found faithful through and through. She died the way she lived, in dignity, in strength, integrity, and in honor of the Lord. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. May we do the same. Go out shining for Jesus as we run our race.